have always been a student of the mind. For over half a decade now, I have been studying the human mind. And being a neuro-linguistic programming certified coach and professional, there's a very interesting presupposition among the presuppositions of NLP, as the short form is, which is people respond to perception than they do to reality. People respond to perception than they do to reality. In the course of my studies, I came across this story. I can't remember exactly where the source was from. It's a story of this gentleman was returning from the office or from a business trip, and then he was on the train with his newspaper, just trying to follow the news. And then he was reading. He sat at the edge of his seat, and then there were these two kids that were running up and down the aisle in the train. Actually, they were making noise, disturbing everybody in the train. And then there was this father. This gentleman noticed from the back that these children will run towards the back where he was seated, and then run to the front and stop where this elderly man was. They'll come back again and then move there again and wait. So he assumed that must have been the father of the children. So at a point, they were causing nuisance in the train, making noise and coming down, distracting and all of that. So at some point, when they come down towards his end, he would stop because he couldn't concentrate with the noise. And then they run back. He continues what he's reading. They come back again. He raises his head. He's staring at them. He's distracted. The children goes away. He faces what he's doing again. And this continued several times back and forth. And then at a point, he couldn't contain it again. And then he closed his paper and said, I'm going to walk to this gentleman, and then that's the father of the children, and tell him a piece of my mind. Because I wonder really in my mind how somebody would bring his children to such a public place and you can't control them. So he walks up to the to the more advanced man in age, and then leans towards him and says things in this line. I wonder why you bring your children to such a public place and you can't take care of them, you can't control them. If you don't know how to control children, then why bring them to a public place? I wonder where their mother is. This is a height of irresponsibility of a father like you. He said that, and he said so many other things, but this is just a summary. And then the father of the children, bowing his head, hearing these words from this gentleman, he raises his head a bit and tries to say these words, with a broken voice. I'm sorry that this is happening. I'm actually coming from the funeral of my wife, who is actually the mother of the children, and obviously the children are yet to come to terms with what has just happened. And I'm sorry I had to do this in a public place. Next time I'll learn to be a good father and take care of my children properly. Well, let me leave the story the way it is. But then if you were the businessman who approached this man and said these words to him, and you heard this feedback, what would you do? What would you say? How would you feel? So many times we look at things, people, situations, and then we run to conclusion. I greeted my boss. He just shoved his shoulder, turned his eye somewhere, and then just walked away. I was speaking to my colleague the other day, and then she just did as though I wasn't talking to her. Was it because I borrowed money from her? Was it because I approached her to ask for a favor? And then you just judge and then conclude, not knowing what the other fellow is actually going through or struggling with. Hence, you want to make it an effort going forward to always find out what the truth is in any and every situation, and not just conclude based on your own perception, but you want to find out what the reality is. Because you know what? People generally respond to perception than they do to reality. And that is one of the reasons for the chaos and divorce and separations that we have in our world today.